You feel it, don't you? That tightness in your chest, that little tremor in your fingers when you reach for something that might actually change you. Fear, that nasty crawling thing that wraps itself around your throat, whispering all the reasons you should sit back down, shut up, stay small. You hate it, don't you? You see it as the enemy, the monster under the bed that never really left you, even when you grew up and told yourself, monsters aren't real. But they are. Fear is real, and it owns you. It sits in your shadow, tugs at your strings, and you like a good little puppet obey. Oh, but let me tell you something about fear, something they don't want you to know. Fear isn't here to stop you. It isn't here to chain you up and keep you safe. No, fear is the compass. Fear is the only thing in this God-forsaken world that will ever point you in the right direction. You think it's a warning sign, that it's telling you to back away, to be careful? No, no, no. Fear is the signal flare in the dark, the screaming neon sign that says this way, the way out, the way forward, the way through. You want to know why? Because fear only shows up when something matters. You don't feel it when you're rotting away in the same routine, the same dead-end existence, the same predictable cycle of excuses and half-hearted attempts at change. Fear shows up the moment you step too close to the edge of something real. The second you stand at the threshold of a door you were never meant to open. That's when it hits you, that cold sweat, that voice in your head whispering, don't do it, don't move, stay here where it's safe. And you listen. Like an idiot, you listen. But let me ask you this, staying safe ever made you feel alive? Has playing it cautious ever set your veins on fire? Ever made your heart pound so hard you thought it would break through your ribs? It just makes you small. It makes you predictable. It makes you weak. And weakness is a death sentence. They don't tell you that, do they? They don't mention how the world eats the weak alive, how it grinds them down into dust, how it chews them up and spits them out without so much as a backward glance. They tell you fear is something to conquer, something to silence. But that's the biggest lie of them all. You don't silence fear. You don't push it down. Don't shove it into the dark corners of your mind and pretend it's not there. You don't overcome fear. You use it. You feel that dread pooling in your stomach when you think about making a move, about doing something that actually matters. That's the signal, right there. That's the moment where you have a choice. Turn back, crawl into your hole, let fear win like you always do, or step into it. Step right into the fire and let it burn away the version of you that you've outgrown. That's the thing about fear. It doesn't just appear to torment you. It appears to show you exactly what's standing between you and the person you were meant to be. Fear is the path, the map, the blueprint of the future You're too much of a coward to claim. But you don't like that, do you? Being called a coward. It stings, doesn't it? But be honest, how many times have you let fear make your decisions for you? How many times have you stood at the edge of something great and let your hands shake too hard to reach for it? How many times have you walked away from what you wanted because the thought of failing made your stomach turn? Oh, I know exactly how many times. Every single time. You see, most people, they're nothing but ghosts. Walking corpses clinging to a life they don't even want. Simply because it's familiar. Because it's comfortable. Because it doesn't scare them. But here's the ugly truth: if nothing in your life scares you, then your life is worthless. A slow death wrapped in the illusion of safety. You're waiting, aren't you? Waiting for the right moment, the right feeling, the right certainty that things will work out before you make your move. But certainty is a luxury for the weak. And the right moment, it's never coming. Fear isn't a wall, it's a door, a test. A question being asked of you over and over again: how bad do you want it? And every time you turn away, every time you let it stop you, the answer is clear: not bad enough. That's why they win, the ones who aren't better than you, who aren't smarter, stronger, more talented, the ones who take what you deserved right out from under your nose. They're not fearless, no one is. But they listen to fear differently. Where you hear danger, they hear opportunity. Where you feel doubt, they feel excitement. They step into the fire because they know that's where the transformation happens. But you just watch from the sidelines, comforting yourself with excuses while they rewrite the rules of the game. And maybe that's all you'll ever be. Maybe you were never meant to step through that door to find out what's on the other side. Maybe you'll spend the rest of your days living in the shadow of the things you were too afraid to chase. Maybe fear will keep you exactly where you are, small, insignificant, forgettable. Or maybe, just maybe, you'll wake up. Maybe you'll finally get it that the thing you fear the most is the only thing worth chasing. That the moment you feel that terror clawing at your throat, that's the moment you need to push forward harder. Because if you're not scared, you're not growing. If you're not scared, you're not doing anything that matters. If you're not scared, then you've already lost. So what's it going to be? Another day of pretending you don't hear it, don't feel it, don't know deep in your gut that you are meant for more? Or are you finally going to listen? Are you finally going to take that step? Because fear isn't the enemy, it's the key. And the door, it's been waiting for you this whole time. But I already know what you're going to do. You're going to hesitate, you're going to sit there chewing on this truth like gristle in your teeth, pretending you don't taste it, pretending you don't know that every word I'm saying is right, that it's been right all along. You're gonna tell yourself tomorrow, next time, when I'm ready, but you won't be ready. You'll never be ready. That's the trick of fear. It convinces you that there will be a day when it fades, when the doubt and uncertainty slip away like fog in the morning sun. But that day will never come. Because fear doesn't go away, you just learn to walk through it. You learn to hear it whispering in your ear and smile anyway. And if you don't, then you stay here, in this in-between, in this waiting room, where nothing ever changes, where you get to keep living with your excuses and telling yourself their reasons, where you get to drown in the comfort of maybe someday, while the people who actually moved leave you behind. You think life is unfair? You think the world is rigged against you? No, the world is simple. It rewards those who move toward what they fear and punishes those who hesitate. That's it. That's the only rule that matters. But still, you wait. You sit there clutching your precious little doubts, convincing yourself they matter. You tell yourself you need a sign, some divine intervention, some proof that stepping forward won't destroy you. But guess what? It will destroy you. That's the point. Because the version of you that sits here now, paralyzed, full of doubt and hesitation, that version needs to die. That's the price of transformation. You don't get to be the person you want to be while clinging to the person you were. You have to let it burn. You have to let it collapse in on itself. You have to watch it crumble and not look away. And you're scared of that, aren't you? You're terrified. Not of the pain, not of the struggle, but of what comes after. Because if you let go of this old self, if you step into the unknown, then suddenly you have no more excuses. No more safety nets. No more I can't, I shouldn't, maybe later. You'll have to face the reality that everything you've been waiting for was always in your hands. And that truth is more terrifying than any fear you've ever felt. Because if fear is the door, then on the other side is something even more unsettling responsibility. The weight of knowing that your life, your success, your happiness, your power was never up to anyone else. That it was always on you. And that kind of truth turns people inside out. It makes them sick. It makes them run. But not you. Not this time. Because I know something about you. Something you don't even want to admit to yourself. You want this. You crave it. That fire inside you, the one they tried to snuff out with their rules, their expectations, their safe little paths. It's still burning, isn't it? No matter how much dirt you've piled on top of it, no matter how many times you've tried to tell yourself you don't need it, that you're fine with the way things are, that fire never died. It's still there, waiting. And it will wait. It will wait until the day you finally decide to use it, or until the day you let it rot inside you completely, turning into nothing but smoke and regret. So what's it going to be? You already know the answer. You've always known. Step forward. Step into it. Let the fire consume what needs to be consumed. Let the fear be your guide. Or stay here. Stay small. Stay afraid. But if you choose to stay, then don't you dare look back years from now and ask, why didn't things change? Because deep down, you'll already know the answer. Most people, they feel something, a spark, a push, an urge deep in their bones to move, to change, to break free. And what do? Nothing. They wait, they overthink, they hesitate. They let the moment pass, and before they know it, they're right back where they started. Right back in their own prison, convinced that maybe it was never possible in the first place. But it was. It always was. They just let the moment slip through their fingers like sand, and once it's gone, once it's lost, getting it back, that's the real hell. So let me tell you something. Right here, right now, you have one job move. It doesn't matter how small. It doesn't matter if it's messy, if it's chaotic, if it's ugly and painful and terrifying. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is that you don't let this feeling die inside you. That you don't let the weight of the past drag you back down. That you don't listen to that whisper in your head telling you to wait just a little longer. Because let me make something crystal clear, for you, fear will always be there. No matter how much you grow, no matter how strong you get, no matter how many times you walk through fire and come out the other side, fear will always be waiting in the shadows. The difference between those who move forward and those who stay trapped isn't the absence of fear, it's the relationship they have with it. You right now, you see fear as the enemy, as the thing that holds you back. You think the goal is to overcome it, to silence it. But that's not how this works, that's next works. Fear isn't something you defeat, it's something you wield. Because, let me tell you something, the strongest people in the world, the ones who seem unstoppable, untouchable, they're not fearless. That's a lie. That's a myth. They sell you so you feel even smaller, even weaker, even more ashamed of the way your hands shake when you reach for something bigger than yourself. But the truth is that the strongest people are the ones who are the most afraid. They just know what to do with it. They use it. They let it drive them, sharpen them, push them into places they never thought they could survive. They don't run from it. They don't fight it. They listen to it. They follow it. And that's what you need to do. You want to know why? Because fear doesn't show up for no reason. It's not some random, cruel trick the universe plays on you just to watch you suffer. No, fear is direction. Fear is the map. Fear is the thing pointing right at the path you're meant to take. And yeah, that path, it's brutal. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna rip you apart in ways you can't even imagine. But that's the price. That's the cost of becoming who you were meant to be. Because listen to me, and listen close, the version of you that exists right now. The one that's hesitant, unsure, filled with self-doubt, afraid of making the wrong move, that version has to die. There's no other way. You don't get to carry them with you into the next chapter. You don't get to bring that small, scared, fragile thing into the fire and expect to come out unscathed. You have to shed it. You have to let it burn. And that's what fear is here for. Not to stop you, but to tell you exactly what needs to go. You scared of speaking up? Then your silence has to die. You scared of taking risks, then your addiction to comfort has to die. You scared of being alone, then your need for validation has to die. Every single fear you have is a message. It's the blueprint for the chains you've locked yourself in. And it's also the key to breaking free. But the question is, do you have the guts to listen? Do you have the courage to step toward the thing that makes your stomach twist and your heart race and your lungs feel like they can't catch a breath? Because that is where you're supposed to go, not away from it, through it. And let me tell you something, when you finally do, when you stop running, when you stop stalling, when you finally face it, that's when everything changes. Not because the fear disappears, but because you do. The weak, hesitant, timid version of you, gone. And what's left? Something new, something stronger, something dangerous. And, oh, they won't see it coming, will they? All the people who doubted you, all the ones who laughed at your dreams, who wrote you off, who dismissed you like you were nothing, they won't recognize you. They won't understand what happened, how you became this. And that's the best part, isn't it? Because while they spent their lives avoiding fear, bending to it, letting it control them, you became it. You took what was meant to keep you caged, and you used it to shatter every single thing standing in your way. So tell me, what's stopping you now? Nothing. Not anymore. Fear has always been the thing standing between you and the life you pretend you don't want. You've spent years convincing yourself that the things you dream about were never meant for you. That maybe you're just not cut out for it. That the people who made it had something you didn't. But deep down, in the part of you that you try to drown out with distractions and excuses, you know that's a lie. It's always been a lie. The truth is, you've been waiting. Waiting for the fear to subside. Waiting for the doubt to ease. Waiting for some perfect moment when the road is clear and the risk is gone. But that moment, it doesn't exist. It never did. The road will never be clear. There will always be something, some obstacle, some excuse, some reason to hold back just a little longer. But at some point, you have to ask yourself, how much longer? How many more days, weeks, years are you going to let fear keep you in this same place? Because that's what's happening, isn't it? You're stuck. And not because you don't have options, not because you're not capable, but because the idea of change real, irreversible, no turning back, change paralyzes you. The thought of stepping forward, of making a move you can't undo, of finally putting yourself in a position where failure is possible, it's enough to make you sick. And that's why you stay where you are. That's why you keep making excuses. That's why you watch other people live the life you tell yourself you want but never reach for. Not because you can't have it, but because having it would mean risking losing it. And that terrifies you, doesn't it? You've spent so much time avoiding pain that you've forgotten something crucial pain is the price of growth. Pain is the proof that you're moving, that you're changing, that you're alive. Every version of yourself that ever meant something, every moment that ever shaped you, every lesson that ever stayed with you, it all came from pain, from risk, from fear. So why are you still avoiding it? What exactly do you think is going to happen if you take that step? If you reach for what you really want instead of what's easy, what's comfortable, do you think you'll collapse? Do you think you'll break? Do you think the world will stop turning if you fail? Because let me tell you, something failure is guaranteed. It will happen. You will stumble. You will fall flat on your face. You will get things wrong. You will make mistakes. You will embarrass yourself. You will question everything. But do you want to know the difference between people who get back up and the ones who stay down? The ones who get back up expected it. They didn't step forward thinking it would be easy. They didn't make their move hoping everything would go perfectly. They knew they were walking straight into hell, and they did it anyway. They knew the fear wouldn't disappear, so they stopped waiting for it to. They knew failure was part of the process, so they used it instead of running from it. And now look at you, sitting there clinging to your fear like it's some kind of shield, when really it's a cage you built yourself, a cage you keep yourself in, day after day, year after year, while the world moves on without you. But here's the part you don't want to hear. Nobody is coming to pull you out. Nobody is going to rescue you from your own hesitation. Nobody is going to grab you by the shoulders, shake you, and force you to make a move. Nobody cares enough to do that for you, because everybody else, they're too busy fighting their own battles. And the ones who do pull themselves out, the ones who rise up, who break through, who finally become what they were meant to be, they weren't ready when they did it. They didn't wait until the fear was gone. They just got sick of their own excuses. And that's where you need to be. You need to get sick of this. Sick of waiting. Sick of being afraid. Sick of standing at the edge of your life and watching instead of living. You need to wake up one day and realize that all the fear, all the doubt, all the hesitation, it was always going to be there. The difference now, you stop letting it control you, because fear isn't going anywhere, and neither is time. So, what's it going to be? Are you going to sit in this same place a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, looking back at all the things you could have done if you just had the guts to try? Or are you going to make today the day it changes? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. You don't need another sign. You don't need more time to think. You don't need to wait for someone to give you permission. You need to move, and you need to do it now.